We don't talk about it. Not out loud. Masturbation is one of those things most people do, but few truly examine. It's private, personal, and for many, it becomes a hidden routine. But what happens when you break that cycle? What really changes when you stop masturbating? Not for a week, not for a challenge, but forever? This isn't about shame. It's about awareness. Because the truth is, every action you repeat rewires your brain. It shapes your focus, your energy, your desire. And for something as common and normalized as masturbation, that effect is deeper than most realize. Stopping it isn't easy. It challenges your comfort. It exposes your coping mechanisms. But if you stay with it, you'll begin to see subtle, powerful shifts in how you think, how you connect, how you move through the world. This isn't about morality. It's about reclaiming your energy, your clarity, your control. And for those who've walked that path, whether for weeks, months, or years, the transformations aren't just physical. They're mental, emotional, even spiritual. So let's go deeper. Let's look at what actually happens, not just to your body, but to your mind and identity, when you stop masturbating forever. Number 1. You begin to reclaim your focus. At first it feels like a void. That old release, the instant gratification, it's gone. And your mind? It starts to reach for it. But over time, something powerful happens. Your focus begins to return. Masturbation, especially when done frequently or mindlessly, hijacks your attention. It teaches your brain to seek reward with minimal effort. But when you stop, your neural pathways start to recalibrate. Dopamine, the chemical behind motivation, stops spiking artificially, and instead, it starts responding to real effort again. You begin noticing things more. Conversations become sharper. Reading feels deeper. Work feels more engaging. Because the mental fog that comes from overindulgence starts to lift. You might notice more energy too, not just physically, but mentally. The same energy you once funneled into a private escape now becomes available to fuel your purpose. That project you kept putting off suddenly feels more doable. That book you couldn't finish now holds your attention. Over time, your ability to focus on delayed gratification improves. You become more grounded in the moment, less reactive, and more intentional. And that shift alone can change everything. Quitting masturbation isn't just about resisting urges. It's about regaining mastery over your attention. And in a world full of distractions, that might be one of the most powerful transformations of all. Number 2. You start to feel emotions you've been avoiding. One of the first things you'll feel when you stop isn't clarity, it's discomfort, emotional discomfort. Because for many, masturbation isn't just about pleasure, it's about escape, stress, loneliness, boredom, anxiety. The moment those feelings hit, release offers a temporary relief. Not healing, just a numbing. But when you remove that outlet, the emotions come up, raw and unfiltered. You might feel more irritable, restless. You might face sadness you didn't know you were carrying, anger you've been suppressing, even a deep sense of emptiness that release used to cover up. This is where most people quit. Not because the physical urge is unbearable, but because the emotional mirror is too sharp. But if you stay with it, if you don't run, something profound happens. You begin to sit with yourself, fully, without distraction. And in that stillness, you start to understand what your body and mind were trying to communicate all along. You face the loneliness and learn how to meet it with connection, not compulsion. You face the stress and respond with action, not escape. This emotional clarity doesn't come easy, but it's real, and it's necessary, Because if you've been using masturbation to regulate your feelings, you've been avoiding the very growth you need. Stopping forces you to feel, to process, to heal. And in that process, you don't just stop a habit. You start building emotional resilience. Number 3. Your energy begins to shift. There's something deeply personal about sexual energy. It's powerful, primal, and when channeled wisely, it becomes a force that can fuel your life. When you stop masturbating, you don't lose that energy. You redirect it. At first, it builds up. You feel it as tension, restlessness, even frustration. But over time, that energy finds new channels. You might notice a stronger drive to move your body, to exercise, to build. You may feel more alert, more assertive, more magnetic. There's a reason so many ancient disciplines, from Taoism to yogic traditions, talk about sexual transmutation. Because when this energy isn't dispersed unconsciously, it becomes transformative. It enhances your presence. You walk differently, speak differently, think differently. Your goals start to feel more urgent, your vision clearer. Because the force that once dissipated in a moment now builds within you like pressure behind a dam, until it flows into your purpose. This shift isn't mystical, it's physiological. Your testosterone stabilizes, your nervous system balances, your confidence starts to rise. Not because of ego, but because of alignment. You begin to realize the urge you used to silence wasn't just lust, it was life energy. And now, instead of escaping it, you're using it. This is where the transformation deepens. When you stop running from your own power and start channeling it towards something meaningful. Number 4. Your relationships begin to change. Stopping masturbation doesn't just change your relationship with yourself, it changes how you connect with others, especially in how you see women, intimacy, and emotional availability. When you stop using fantasy and solo release as a primary outlet, you start re-engaging with real people, real connection. You become more attuned to human presence, not just digital stimulation. You begin to value conversations over screens, connection over control. You may notice your attraction shifts. It becomes less about objectification, more about depth. You're not chasing dopamine anymore. You're seeking meaning, substance, soul. For many, this creates discomfort, because real intimacy is vulnerable. It requires patience, presence, and authenticity, things that solo release rarely demands. But this discomfort is necessary. It's how you grow into a man who doesn't just desire connection, but earns it. You may also become more emotionally available, more compassionate. You begin to see your partners not as outlets for desire, but as mirrors, as partners, as people. This doesn't mean you become celibate or emotionally dependent. It means you're coming from a place of wholeness, not hunger. And the relationships you build from that space, they're stronger, deeper, more real. Because when you stop outsourcing intimacy, you start cultivating it in ways that last. Number 5. You rewire your identity. Perhaps the most profound change isn't what happens to your body, but what happens to your identity. When you stop masturbating, especially long-term, you begin to see yourself differently. Not as someone always giving in to impulse, but as someone capable of self-mastery, of restraint, of choosing the long road over the easy escape. You become more intentional with your time, more present in your actions. And over time, that consistency builds trust with yourself. You stop seeing yourself as the man who can't change and start becoming the man who already has. Your standards rise, not from arrogance, but from alignment. You start choosing better relationships, better habits, better environments. because your internal world demands it. And with that comes self-respect. Quiet, unshakable self-respect. Not based on results, but on effort, on integrity, on the knowledge that you're living in alignment with your values, even when no one's watching. This is the silent reward few talk about. The inner transformation. The quiet confidence that comes from reclaiming control. Because when you stop escaping, you start becoming. And who you become when you stop masturbating forever is someone most men will never meet within themselves. But you can. If this message spoke to something in you, maybe it's time to listen to that part more often. Growth doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's the quiet decisions, the habits you break, the energy you reclaim, that change everything. If you found value in this video, consider subscribing to Factsworth. Here, we explore the unspoken side of the human experience. Not to impress, but to understand. And if there's someone in your life who needs this message, don't keep it to yourself. Until next time, stay aware, stay grounded, and never stop becoming who you're meant to be.